This is just us to kind of mark this historic moment in history of the Israeli government being finally taken to International Court of Justice for its many, many heinous crimes that it's committed over the entirety of its existence. And we just thought that we have to mark this moment in one way, of course.
I think, and I'm gonna say it with my chest, United States, we're pathetic. I'm pathetic living in the United States, standing here, going to school, paying for school, going into debt myself, while all the money that I put in my career, in my education, is being put and placed to kill so many children, so many women, so many innocent civilians. And then we just ignore the fact that we're not doing anything. The fact that it's as if we're standing so proud, we're United States, it's the place, the country where everyone wants to be because that's how we picture it, because again, propaganda. It's kind of sad, and I really have no words. I sit here and I stutter because in my brain I might have so much to say, but when it comes out I get frustrated, and it doesn't come off easy. What do I say? There's nothing to say. I'm so sad. I'm miserable myself. I'm complicit as much as United States is complicit, as much as Israel is complicit. I'm a Palestinian from Gaza. I can't do anything. I sit at home all day on my screen, not being able to live a normal day in my life without feeling any guilt. So at the end of the day, even though I'm trying as much as I can, United States is at fault. And I stand here every single day not knowing what to do except for yelling at them to do something, because they should be able to do something. I do want to give a big hug to South Africa, seeing our terms being used, because I see a lot of people are so scared to use the word genocide, and I see a lot of people being scared to even type the word genocide and use the word apartheid and use occupied. It gives a warm feeling in my heart, because you don't see that every day unless you're with people who use the same language as you. So seeing something else, someone else, a lot of people use our language. So seeing South Africa use our language felt like a really big hug. So I'm just gonna reciprocate that hug and thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I know that they know that we're really on the right side of history, because they were on that side of history once before. So if they're on this side, we know that they're doing something right. We know that we're doing something right, because you can't tell me that slavery was not a thing, and you can't tell me that the slaves weren't hurt, and you can't tell me that their rights were occupied. Slaves' rights were occupied. African Americans were occupied. Their identity was occupied. They understand us. We understand them. And we're just really proud. We're really proud. We thank you. And Biden should learn a thing or two from them. I don't know. Take a lesson. Joe Biden knows that he's complicit in this war. Joe Biden's people, the people that work for him, even protest. They protest against him. Those people are warriors. Those people in this building right now, what are you doing? Sitting at a desk? Get up. I'm sick of it. Do something. I might even have to take these steps to be in your position so that something can happen.
At the same time, it is giving the Palestinian people some hope that finally the international community is taking those tools and using them in a way to really make something come out of the atrocities that have happened. Let's keep the hope alive, that these nations will finally act on our behalf, and not only will this be the beginning for the Palestinian liberation that isn't just put forth by South Africa and these international actors, but really has been put forth by the Palestinian people on the ground. You know, this is their and our struggle, and we think that this is the beginning of all liberation struggles all over the world. I've never believed the US to be a fair and just actor in this world because it has its own record of human rights violations, whether it was in Vietnam or in Iraq, many places where it's put its hands. So I'm not surprised that it continues to support the Israeli government in the way that it does, because it is in the interest of the United States that the Israeli government continues to act in the way that it does, and it continues to exist in the way that it does. So I've never really believed or trusted the United States government to be a fair and good representation of what human rights look like.
Yeah, I mean, even American citizens are not given, the housing and healthcare and all the other things that we should be, as human rights, should offer. What do you think it would take for Biden and Congress to finally turn the tables and finally, dismiss Israel's actions?
I don't trust Biden to take the right stance on this, because from the beginning of this whole thing, and even before Biden was president, we've seen the videos of him saying that he would create an Israel, or he would want to make sure that there was an Israel if there wasn't one. And I don't trust the Democratic Party to also take the right stance, because having spoken to my own congressperson in a meeting with other constituents who were Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim, his staffers have said that Gregory Meeks, my congressperson, basically has the same position as President Biden. And that's not a position that is acceptable. Biden himself has basically parroted the lies that the Israeli government has pushed without substantial evidence or proof. And it's not acceptable for a president like Biden to parrot those lies without evidence. It's not acceptable for President Biden to completely disregard Palestinian lives. President Biden knows that there are Palestinian people here, and he knows that there are Palestinian people in Gaza who has U.S. citizenship, and in Palestine in general who has U.S. citizenship. And this government is responsible for the safety and protection of its citizens, but it should also ensure that other people, regardless of their citizenship, are not impacted negatively by its foreign affairs or foreign policies. So I have little hope, but I think what it would take is the people realizing that the two-party system is a sham, and that it does not benefit any of us, and that these two parties are basically two sides of the same coin. And there's really not much difference between Democrats and Republicans when it really comes down to it. For me personally, as a Palestinian, I never really had any hope for any of the election cycles, because I knew that regardless of who wins, whether it's a Democrat or Republican in any of the seats, it's always going to look bad for my people, my family that still lives there at large, my friends and my loved ones, not just in Palestine, but in many places across the world. So I might benefit a tiny bit living here under a democratic government or a democratic party, but I know that people back home are suffering immensely, regardless of who takes the presidential seat or who takes Congress or who's the mayor. It's the same for my family in Palestine. So we need to dismantle this two-party system. We need to realize that it does not benefit people at large, and that the only reason why Democrats actually, appear like they are progressive is because of pressure that comes from the people, that they have to reconcile with the people's demands. But I really truly think that Democrats are really not much different than Republicans when it really comes down to it. It's just that they follow the people after a lot of pressure. It's pressure that makes changes in this country and in any place across the world. It's movement of the people. It's the voice of the people. It's actions of the people. It's what we saw on Monday, for example, you know? Because we can't expect that if we continue to appeal to the conscience, as Status Coup would say, to these oppressors, that they would change their minds just because they have a change of heart. It's because they will have to change their minds because the people are speaking up and saying enough is enough. And we will not stand with our tax money and our elected officials continuing in this oppression, wherever it is.
Absolutely. I think we desperately need a general strike.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely, sign on to the general strike. We need a lot of numbers there. We need, I mean, the power really is in the people, and especially in the laborers, you know?
Yeah.
If we stop, everything stops. It really is in our hands. So if we're inconvenienced because, you know, some people blocked bridges and tunnels, what is the bigger picture? The bigger picture is that we are working for most likely somebody or some corporation that really doesn't care about us. That's what we dedicate our lives to. But we have the power to be like, I'm not going to work because something really horrific is happening, and there's nothing that I feel like I can do, but I can do this. I can strike, I can mobilize, I can unionize, I can vote, I can stop traffic, I can cause a little bit of a disruption, and I'm doing whatever I can because that is what I can do.
Can I get your name?
Fatin Jarrah with Alauda, New York, Palestine Rights Return Coalition.
Thank you very much.
I'm hoping that 2024 can bring so much to the Palestinian people, more than anyone else, because they have been struggling for so many years and they need some sort of relief. South Africa, I have no words could come out of my mouth that could describe what I feel for you. You had everyone in tears this morning, just listening to the words that we have been utilizing, but have not heard it from other people besides the Palestinian and besides anyone that believe that Palestine should be free. The Nakba, apartheid state, those two terms are just used vocally because it's the truth. The word genocide, I mean, there's no other word to describe what is going on in Gaza.
Tell me if you have been able to speak to your family in Gaza, and tell me what the response.
So, I do have family in Gaza. I have my uncle who lives there, and my parents' cousins, my parents' uncles, aunts. It's a lot. The first time that we were able to actually talk to my uncle was 30 days after October 7th. So it was a hassle. It was a lot because we didn't know what was going on, obviously. We could see on the screen, but we never knew what was happening with him, like his situation. If the area that he was in was safe. And he lives right up the street from the Shifa hospital, which is targeted all the time. A hospital targeted all the time. So we were always worried. I have a far family who have been killed. My grandma's cousin passed away recently. He was in a school that they migrated to be in a safer area because Israel told them to migrate to the south, which is what they did. And he was outside of the school when Israel shot him using the what are they called? The planes, the drones. The drones, they have super targeting where they can target anyone. And recently they just targeted someone from Hamas, and which everyone should know. They target people and they shoot them from the drone. So it's not like a human shoots them. A drone can shoot them.
It's very precision.
It's
like,
very accurate.
Right.
Very accurate. So yeah, my great cousin was targeted. My grandma's cousin was targeted with a drone. That hit us a lot because he was the closest family to us that had been killed. And yes, we have far cousins that have been murdered, but having someone that is very close hurts us even more. Now, my uncle, thank God, was able to exit Palestine, Gaza, just recently, a few months ago, maybe like a month and a half ago. But America is still not helping. So my uncle came, he went through the Rafah border, and he's now in Egypt. But America would not let him come back. And mind you, he was an American citizen. He had his green card. And America said that he did not want it anymore. He abandoned his green card because he went back to Palestine. And obviously when you go into Palestine and there's reoccurring war after war after war in 2012 and 17 and 16, you're not gonna think in your brain, oh, my green card is gonna expire. That's not the first thought. So when his green card expired, of course he's not gonna go renew it because he's worried about his safety. So America using the tactic of he's abandoning wanting to be an American citizen and using the chance to make sure that he's not a Palestinian citizen if he wants to come into America, and making him delete the fact that he's Palestinian overall by saying, we'll let you come into America if you give up your Palestinian your passport, your Palestinian passport, your Hawiyah, is actually sickening. You cannot delete like your ethnicity, your nationality just because of something greater. This is not great. He just wants to come home to family and they're not allowing it. And it's been hard, but one day after the other, we're making sure that we fight for him. So we're glad that he's not in Palestine, but we're also fighting America still to make sure that he does come back to family.
Israel is used to its impunity, and it carpet bombs and further displacing Palestinians in Gaza in order to create beach resorts and more illegal settlements. We need to call on the international community to hold Israel accountable, not just for the current genocide in Gaza, but for over 75 years of apartheid occupation and settler colonialism in Palestine. Today's ICJ hearing is truly a glimmer of hope, and it's the beginning of a new process that will hopefully bring justice to the Palestinian people and beyond.